Straight from the office of the Tina Terry Agency, we present to you episode number 14 of the Gig Sessions Lunchtime Talk. Let's jump right in and let me introduce you to today's guest. Our first guest is Guy Davis. He's an American roots musician who plays guitar and banjo as well as writes his own songs. He is the second son and the only son born to actors Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis. With his family background, add actor to Guy's list of things he can do, and then seek out his adventures of fishy waters, one-man play when you can. Guy is currently the host of Coffee with Kokomo Kid, which streams live on Facebook every day except Saturday. Our next guest is Gaye Adegbalola, who hails from Fredericksburg, Virginia. Gaye is also an American roots musician, songwriter, activist, one of the three founding lead ladies of Sapphire the Uppity Blues Women, and I recently learned that Gaye is a gardener and a photographer. Welcome, Guy. Welcome, Gaye.
Hello, hello.
Thank you, Tina. Good to be on. Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, Kokomo Kid.
So when was the last time you two saw each other?
That'll be at the Blues Awards down in Memphis.
Yeah.
Was it last year or the year before?
Last year or the year before. Yeah. No, yeah, it had to be a year before because I didn't go last year.
Okay, that's when it would have been.
Yeah.
And I think the last time that I actually chatted with you, Guy, was on the Blues Cruise many years ago.
I got a few years on me. Yeah.
And I did see you at the the Mid-Atlantic Blues Festival when you did the True Blue with Corey and Alvin, but I never found you to hug you and say hello.
You know something? I'm missing that hug now more than ever.
So
you owe me.
I owe you.
Next time you see me, we gotta get doubles.
Yeah, permanent bank.
Oh, you too, Gay Todd. Double, maybe triple.
You're the only person that calls me Gay Todd.
Okay, do I get, well, is that the right thing to do?
Oh, you get lots of hugs for that one. Yeah. Other than my hometown, everybody at home calls me Gay Todd. But you're the only person out there in the blues world that calls me Gay Todd. Yeah.
Well, I get the whole three. Gaye
Adegbalola.
Adegbalola.
Yeah.
I like the whole roll of it.
All right.
Sound like I'm eating a good meal.
There you go.
And are you cooks? Do both of you cook?
I do some cooking. I haven't poisoned anybody yet.
Your son's still
my
living?
sisters, yeah, they taught me a lot about it, but I do a little cooking.
Yeah, I have a few special dishes, but I do a little cooking. But today, for lunch, my partner Queen made smothered turkey necks.
Ooh.
Oh, bet you haven't had those, Terry.
Hell no.
No, I haven't had smothered turkey necks. I've had plenty of pieces off the turkey, but
there you go.
not smothered. We have to, dig into that.
Smothered
so-
turkey necks.
Do you cook it like ribs where it eventually falls off the bone?
Well, you suck it off the bone. You suck the little vertebrae, like that. You get the spinal cord and everything else.
And you make the sound too. I love it.
Oh yeah, it's like it's lip smacking good. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, I like soul food, but that one I've not adventured into
Okay,
yet.
well, come on up to Fredericksburg.
I don't eat crawdads for that reason.
I don't eat crawdads either, only because I'm allergic to shellfish.
Uh-oh.
Same here. I'm allergic, but every once in a while I cross the line, get a little bit of what I'm not supposed to. As long as I promise the Lord to drink a lot of water, and so everything kind of goes through.
Oh, so you don't swell up and stuff?
Not basically no, but every once in a while a shrimp has to get on my plate. Just once in a while. You know?
Yeah, well, shrimp got on my plate in Canada once before a gig, and all of a sudden my throat started swelling up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, not
Yeah. Got some shots, so the tempos were a little slow for the gig, but I managed. Yeah.
As long as they kept going.
So I'm curious, guys. You know, both of you grew up. I mean, well, Guy, you grew up with actors and activists, and Gaye, you grew up an activist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do I ask this question? How does, I don't want to use the word civil unrest, but how does the current lay of the land from an activist's point of view fare to when families had something to I don't even know how I'm trying to ask this, because I don't think the times of what your families were
So
protesting against.
Tina, take a deep breath and think about what you want to know, and then ask me. Ask us.
What side of today's social affairs do you feel would get you back out on the streets to activate? Or to, that's not the right
You
word.
want to go first?
Okay, I'm going to speak.
Okay.
If you're asking me what side, I will say the people's side, the constitutional side, the side that leaves room for evolution, hopefully not have to throw down the revolution in the street today or tomorrow. But you got to understand that in days before this, the lines were a little clearer and the Constitution was a little more sanctified. Nowadays, you got people up top who are subverting the Constitution, and they are really sullying the lines between protest and demonstration and so-called rioting and carrying on. So I stand on the side of the people. I stand on the side of peaceful protest to the fullest extent possible. I stand on the side of not so much defunding the police as restructuring all of their understanding about people, and not just police understanding, but government, economic, voter registration. There's a whole change that needs to happen above and beyond the police. So right. I'm in favor of those who are the educators, those who are trying to reach out, give us information. You shouldn't have started me on this. Even though the internet is filled with a lot of information, you can learn a lot of things on the internet, like how the president talks about demon sperm and whatnot. Wisdom is something that you get from people. That's why I'm so anxious for this COVID business to be over. I want to get to Gaye Todd's front porch and ask her what she knows about what road to go down and what road not to go down. Wisdom comes from people. Information comes from the internet, but wisdom comes from people. I'm on the people's side.
And I think ultimately you have to be grounded in love. And your wisdom has to be grounded in love. A love for all people, a humane kind of love. And when we fight for justice, we're not just talking about in the criminal and judicial arenas, but we need justice in education. We need justice in entertainment. We need justice socially. We need justice all the way down the line. And it's going to take a whole lot of work. I'm doing a workshop on Saturday. It's called What Happens After the Protest. And I've been working on it because I thought I had some clear ideas. And then I saw the video of the Daniel Prude beating. Daniel Prude in Rochester, who had a hood tied over his head as he was restrained. And I couldn't stop shaking. My partner, Queen, had to come and just hold me because I don't know what we need to do when we have the president saying that it's okay for all these anti-protesters to come with guns drawn and say that they are protecting America. America is not known to be like this. America is not the land of the Nazis. And so I can't fight on the lines. I can't protest like I want to. I'm 76 years old and I can't do it. I cannot do it. But I've been doing some other stuff right here at my desk at home. And I'm doing a benefit for a guy who's running for the Senate from here in Virginia, and I'm doing another benefit for a guy who's running in Charlottesville for the Virginia House of Delegates. And so, Guy, I know you're probably on that wavelength too, because we as musicians and our songs, the songs that we choose to play, I've been known mainly for writing humorous stuff, but Lord knows these are not funny times. I've been trying to come with some levity, but it's been difficult. It's really been difficult. Yeah. Some songs I wrote 20 years ago. If it had been a dog, I wrote that after Rodney King. If they'd been kicking on a dog, they would have gone to jail. And so that's getting airplay right now because they're doing the same thing and not being arrested, not being charged. Bitch with a bad attitude.
Hello.
I wrote that 20 years ago. And now AOC is getting some dedications of that song because you only call bitch if you're speaking your mind. So we have to use what platforms we have, and everybody has a platform. I don't care if it's just speaking to your neighbor, but you got to speak up. You have to speak up.
You hear that, powers that be? Don't you make Miss Gaye Adegbalola lose her sense of humor.
Oh,
Right.
What happens, it's going to be all kind of trouble.
Hey, they gotta be glad I'm not young. Yeah, they should be glad I'm not young. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why I wanted to get that perspective and why that question was so hard for me to ask, because a true activist, and I like how you said that, Gaye, with grounded in love. Your point is to change the status, not create more anger. So yeah.
So let me just for a moment speak to what Guy brought up a minute ago. You have people who are on the right and people who are on the left, and you have this great big batch of people who are in the middle. And a lot of them don't understand what it means to defund the police. And I think that's kind of a scary term, but mainly so many police officers and so much time, so many clock hours go to them doing the work of mental health people, like transporting mental health clients back and forth to appointments, to legal settings, to what have you. You defund the police and you put that money somewhere else. You don't give the police the money to buy used Army equipment. When are they going to use it? How often do they have riots? Come on, with all the millions of people who have been protesting after George Floyd's death, how many communities actually had real violent protests? You can probably count them on one hand, but it's been so twisted. And so, so when we talk to people who are marginalized, who are in the middle, we need to make clear what that means about defunding the police. It's not about taking away their jobs. It's about restructuring what they do and how they do it.
Yeah. And in today's plateau, you could add the media to that as well.
Yes.
Well, the media is in an interesting spot. When they report on the demonstrations and the protests, it's important. And sometimes, yes, there were fires. Yes, there was violence. But in the media's effort to bring light to it, they play that same thing over and over, and it comes out seeming like there are fires all over the place.
Right.
And this is not so. We need to get some of that funding to make a clearer, stronger community outreach,
right,
which not only tries to quell violence, but tries to do stuff that has to do with educational outreach, job training, homeless, somehow a step up for folks who are homeless. Otherwise, you're going to have the homeless staying where they are. The problems are going to be the same, not because these human beings are horrors or beasts, but because when you keep a person in certain circumstances, the only way they can survive is to rattle that cage.
Yeah.
And to go wild.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, so much of the homelessness is about mental illness. and needing help in that arena. The poor guy, when I talk about Daniel Prude, it's very clear that he had a mental illness. He was out in the street in the middle of the night, naked. And what did they do? They put a bag on it, a spit hood on his head, and then handcuffed him. And the man has a problem.
And what I heard this morning, Gaetan and Tina, was that the mayor and the police chief had this reported as literally arrested without incident.
Right.
Until it got uncovered by the video, then suddenly there's this incident with the spit hood and such things.
Yeah, and they have all resigned now.
Yeah, I'm sorry they had to go, but they had to go.
Yeah.
But I guess what bothers me, because I live in a very quiet community where I don't know if what's being told to me is true or not, because we don't have violence, we don't have dissension. I live in Mayberry, and I'm so glad I do. But when I watch these videos of the guy that films that incident, I mean, if our job is to take care of our own and to protect our people, what are the boundaries is it our job to film that so we can send that to the police to tell them how they did it wrong? Or do we come together as a community to help the guy? I mean,
one thing in this workshop I'm coming up with some concrete things to do. And one of the things that I'm suggesting is to all young people, go and teach old people how to video on their cell phones and how to keep them charged up. That's a simple thing. But a lot of old folks don't know. So it's that kind of thing that has to be taught, and thankfully this fellow named Rayshawn White videoed Jacob Blake getting shot 7 times in his back with his 3 children watching. So some stuff you can't avoid. If Rayshawn had not had his cell phone, Jacob would have just died. And his children ain't going to be right forever. They screwed up forever.
Yeah. So part of that message is keep your cameras rolling, everybody. It's not an act of violence. It is not a weapon, but yet it is keep the cameras rolling. It helps to keep people honest. So I found out I can take this cell phone charger that I charge up, that is for senior citizens like me, and plug it into my phone if it runs out of power while I'm outdoors, and keep it charged. Yes, young people, do help folks my age with anything that has to do with the internet, because I'm all intimidated by it.
Yeah. Another thing I'm suggesting that people do, and this is for you, Tina. Another thing that I'm suggesting that they do is to subscribe to the New York Times on the internet. It's $1 a week. You pay $4 a month. And every day they send you what they call as their briefings, their high points. And it'll just be like 3 or 4 things that pop up on the screen. And each little article, if you want to know more, you click and you go in and you get more. And it's about as true as anything you can get these days. I would say that it's a lot truer than tuning into Fox or CNN. Both of them are kind of slanted. And, I think that we need to act on correct information. By the way, there's a song on my last CD called Ain't Technology Grand? And it talks about all the uses of the cell phone. And then the last verse goes, and you can video the truth. You can offer up the proof when authorities take down another Black youth. Ain't technology grand? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to use all of our weapons.
So tell us where we can see this workshop you are doing.
Oh, okay.
Can we partake?
Yes. There is a wonderful group in Columbus, Ohio called the Hot Times Festival. Guy, you might have played there. But it's a batch of old hippies that basically had the idea to have festivals and bring the black and white communities together. So they've had a mix of artists, they've had a mix of vendors, they've had a mix of foods, and it's been a wonderful festival. But of course, they didn't get the money this year, and there's a pandemic. So they called me up and said, Gaye, would you do something free for us? We don't even have a Zoom platform. So on Friday night, that's tomorrow night, I'm doing a free concert, and it's just on my Facebook page, but they're telling all of their Columbus people to come watch this concert. And then they asked me, would I do a workshop? What did I want to do? I said, well, I'm going to do a little workshop on what to do after the protest, what happened after the protest, what's happening now, and what else needs to happen. And that's going to be at noon on Saturday, also on my same Facebook page, Gaye Adegbalola, Facebook page, regular Facebook.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch that.
Yeah, so thanks to the Hot Times people. Yeah, they're keeping love alive. A bunch of flower children.
Flower babies, hippies. Yeah, and speaking of technology, I think we all walked into this COVID pandemic, knowing that we didn't have to learn technology if we didn't want to. And then April came around and we were all learning technology. And it's still uncomfortable to me, and I'm thankful to StreamYard for making this show happen.
To who? What is it called?
StreamYard is who I use.
Okay.
It's, in my opinion, it's better than Zoom. You can have as many people as you want, but it's just more creative in how you can lay it out. And their customer service is dead on. But yes, you started doing Coffee with Kokomo Kid, Guy.
Yeah.
And you started streaming once a week, and now you're doing it every day but Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's my job. It's the job that I was called on to do. That's what it feels like.
That's
I could just sit here.
Dharma. That's your Dharma.
Yeah, I think so. And it's my Dharma. My luggage that I got to carry.
Yeah, right.
And I am a creative individual. I could just sit around this apartment and bang my head on the walls. But I said, why don't I challenge myself to write as much new stuff as I can? But when I can, I do old songs. I started out doing 3 songs. Now I just do 2. We talk a little bit. I open up something called Peck Wallace's Box of Wonders, and people get to see what's in there. So Coffee with Kokomo. Kokomo is a whole character of mine who has to do with exposing government corruption. And, well, let's say Kokomo is fun. Here's the first verse. Back when prohibition was the law of the land, politicians knew we didn't understand that drinking was the way that laws got made. They got laid and bribes were paid. When the white bootleggers got sent to jail, nobody couldn't come and go their bail except for Kokomo.
Yeah,
Kokomo Kid. So I got a whole, let's just say there's a lot of stories to be told in there right here. A lot of tales to be told.
Quite like Richard Pryor. I mean, you know what I mean? He was such a magical storyteller, and there were all these characters that he knew. Well, you as well as myself, we are both griots, and we maintain our history, which is so important to do. We maintain our history in song. Yeah.
And the history matters so much. So yeah, tell me, Guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you grew up in this amazing family. I am such huge fans of what your mom and dad did. I mean, such purveyors in a time that, was so hard for so many to succeed in anything. And then here comes your parents in the Depression, raising a family and still acting. And so share with me a wonderful Davis family story.
Well, let's see. There's so many stories. I'll just have to start with one and see where it goes. All right, let's talk about the times old Guy transgressed the family law. There were times when our guy's dad had to confront him about that. Now, my dad was a big Georgia country boy, so if he hit you, he'd kill you. He didn't even have to mean to. He's big like a tree. Mm-hmm. So what he had us do, I had two sisters, but believe me, I think I earned more punishment. You had to stand there with your hand open like that, with your palm up. He took off his belt and he could wham down on your hand. Whoa. So he could hurt you without harming you. And that is a very important distinction, because I needed to have my attention gotten, and he got my attention and he straightened me out. Now, my mother, on the other hand, she wasn't so even-tempered. She had hands faster than Bruce Lee. And so when I came out my mouth spouting some teenage wisdom designed to let her know that she wasn't with it, boy, she just pull up, boy, coming. That lady go upside my head so fast, I'm telling you. Well, here's the end of the story. One day, I guess I was in my 20s, maybe early 20s. I was living at home with my folks in New Rochelle. I was in the basement, and my mom was scolding me about something I forgot to do, some task, some chore or something. And I was sort of, like giving her the hand, like, to talk to the hand, like, come on, you're an old lady. You don't know what it's like to be young like me. Yeah, I was giving her that kind of, without saying those words, that kind of, stand back stuff. So this time, I'd grown up enough, so my mom didn't hit me. She just left the basement. A few minutes later, my dad came downstairs and said, "Son, your mother's crying. Perhaps you don't need a mother." Oh. And he left the basement. And next thing I knew, I just fell to the floor and cried and cried and cried. So I grew up in the most loving family imaginable, and wise in the ways of crazy children, and who kept a good hand on me to try to get me to the point where I could open up my own eyes and see what the world was and what I needed to be in the world. Mm-hmm. So that's a little series of anecdotes of coming up in my family.
And I love that, because I've read some pieces and interviews with both your parents, and one thing they always discussed was the family. Yeah, that's
first, awesome. Last, and always family.
Yep. Yep. And are your sisters into acting or music?
Both of my sisters have been into acting, music, theater, television, either on the camera or behind the scenes in production. Both, when they were in college, were students of filmmaking. My sister Nora was the go-to, I'll say, office person when my parents were shooting that television show down in Dallas back in the early 80s. My sister Hesna became an educator, a high school principal, a superintendent, working for human resources. Now she's retired. Both my sisters are very rich people when it comes to life and to living. And my sister Hesna, by the way, this Muslim woman, was a high school principal September 11th, 19 years ago, when those towers came down. And she never forgot having to stay at that school for some children whose parents never came to pick them up. Wow. So we have learned life from all areas and angles. That's just a couple of anecdotes about my sisters.
That's fabulous. And Gaye, I've always been a fan of yours, and I think I was like 12 years old the first time I saw.
Let me tell you something about his parents first.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just short. I had the learning opportunity to live in New York City from 66 to 70, just about. And this was the height of Black nationalism, and we were coming into our awareness of ourselves as Black people and loving ourselves. That's when I started using the name Adegbalola. But anyway, and my ex-husband managed a group called the Last Poets. You might be familiar with it. They were the forerunners to rap. They came before Gil Scott Heron. Okay. And anyway, every time there was any kind of fundraiser for any black nationalist group in New York City, the first people we'd call would be your parents. The first people we'd call would be your parents. And they would always come and always stay positive and always encourage us to be true to ourselves. And I'll never forget it. And then I had the opportunity to hear them speak when I got my master's degree at Virginia State University. They were the speakers there. And I was just so thrilled that as I walked across the stage, I took a little detour and went over and hugged them. They were sitting down. It was like, yes, these people are that's my shero and my hero. Yeah. So,
Gaye Todd, thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, yeah.
That little extra little twist of home. It's important to me. Thank
you. They were always there. Always there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, back to you, Gaye. And I'm now 51. I think I was 12 the first time I saw you.
Okay.
I had probably just come to know what blues was. You know, I'm not sure that I knew what to call it. I knew it as American music. And so I don't know, like, you know, where this actually trailed as to how old Sapphire was. But tell me how the band came to be and the three leaders that were Sapphire, the uppity blues women.
Okay. Yeah, it's a kind of twisted story. You know, you'll hear different things from different people. But Sapphire started in 1984, and we were together for 25 years. Mainly Ann Rabson and I were joined at the hip. I fell in love with the blues when I first heard Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee. I was probably about 10 years old, and that was my music. But I didn't really, you know, blues has a whole lot of fruit, different kinds of fruit on the tree. And when I was probably in my early 20s, mid-20s, I heard Nina Simone. And at the start of a song called, she does it as I want a little sugar in my bowl. Bessie Smith says, I need a little sugar in my bowl. And she's playing the intro and she whispers, Bessie Smith, y'all. And I had to look up Bessie Smith, and that took me to Ma Rainey, and that took me to Sippy Wallace. And all of a sudden, I found my Dharma, if you will. And so it was later on, I had moved back to Fredericksburg, and I ran into Ann Rabson at a party, and she was singing all these Bessie Smith songs and playing guitar. And I asked her, would she give me some lessons? And it wasn't about, of course, it's been twisted into a white woman gives a black woman blues. But it was more about repertoire, you know, it was more about repertoire. So we started meeting down in Richmond. She was living in Richmond at the time, and she would teach me some songs, whatever. She moved away. By the time she came back, I had been invited to play in a little bar, but I knew my little guitar was too lightweight for this bar. So I asked her to join me. And we started playing in this bar on the off nights. We started on Sunday night. The bar got packed. They opened up another room. The bar got packed more. We started playing on Sunday and Monday, and 3 rooms were open, and it was packed. So we knew we had something going on, and Erlene had a piano. Ann and I had been sneaking into college so that she could play piano. And then Erlene was taking a computer class from Ann, and Ann knew that Erlene had a piano at her house. So we started practicing there. And Erlene came down and joined in on bass. And the next thing we knew, 3 pieces will always make more than 1 or 2. You know, 3 pieces, back then you could ask for $500, but solo you might get 100. So if you had 3, it was like a band, you know, and we came on with it. And then we went full time in 88. We just, Ann and I loved it that much. We knew we wanted to do it for a living. for life.
And were you still teaching at this point?
I was teaching when we were playing. See, I was playing 3 nights a week solo, and then with Ann, we started on. That was from '79 to '84. I was teaching, and I was playing solo 3 nights a week, and then Ann and I were on Sunday and Monday, and then we quit when Ann's daughter graduated from college. And mine was just going to college. My son was just going to college. That's when we went on the road because I knew I had a year's worth of money covered. I had his tuition for a year, and I quit teaching. I got a leave from teaching, and I knew I was okay with it because I was a science teacher, and science teachers were at a premium, so I could come back to it if I needed to, but I didn't. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So share a funny road story that you guys had as Sapphire. Uh, yeah, share a funny road story.
Oh my. Oh, there were lots of stories. I just found some pictures. I'm going to duplicate. Yeah, I think. Well, the story of when we were in Canada, and I ordered a chicken quesadilla, and I started eating it, and it was a little rubbery, and I looked at it, and it was shrimp quesadilla. So all of a sudden, my throat started closing, and we ran across the street. There was a doc in the box. Thankfully, Canada, anybody can go to the doctor anytime. And they gave me 2 shots of Benadryl. I went back. I played the gig, but I kept slowing the tempo down. I was just moving a little slow. So there were several incidents like that. Another time, we were on the road. Did you ever play the Wheatland Festival, Guy?
I played it. Yes.
Okay. This is at Wheatland at night. It's out in a field in the middle of nowhere. And there's stories to be told about that, but I won't tell them. Anyways, I had thought I had eaten something like a shellfish something, and I was carrying the EpiPen by then to stab myself. But I was like, okay, I'll just get some chloroseptic first. So we were in the van going back to the hotel in the dark on a side road, and I reached down into our little whatever kind of bag we were carrying, and I pulled out the chloroseptic for my throat and sprayed it good. But it was the mosquito bug killer.
Oh God.
Oh no, Lord help me.
They had wonderful jokes. They joked me for about a week straight. And so there were plenty of little tales like that. There was a 12-car collision on I forget it. I guess it was I-40. It was right around Lake Erie, right outside of Cleveland, when a snow flurry came up, and so tales abound. I can't just pop up with something magical here, but I've got plenty of them. We've got plenty of them, and some of them I will never tell. Yeah.
See, we need to be together, have a little bottle of wine, a couple of guitars, and start the stories that you tell one and then make another one come up. Oh yeah.
Sounds like
Jose Gold.
Yep, a future visit to Gay Todd's porch.
Yeah.
And we'll have smothered turkey necks too.
So what do you photograph, Gay? I didn't know that photography was part of your credits.
Okay. Well, I got my master's in photography. It was in educational media, but I specialized. I really just wanted to learn darkroom stuff, but I couldn't get that and get my teaching certificate and what have you. So I went into educational media, but I just learned. I took all the photography classes, I took video classes, and I mainly focused on darkroom technique. So I shot with this old twin lens Rolleiflex camera, and I absolutely loved it. I had a darkroom in my house, and whether it was people or landscapes or flowers, you name it. You didn't see me without a camera. But then everybody got digital cameras, so all the mystery went poof. I did superimposed images. I did high contrast, all kinds of manipulation in the darkroom. That's what I did. Yeah.
Sweet.
But that was from if you quote me, date me. That's what I always say, so.
That's great. So what's a funny road story you can share, Guy?
Lord have mercy. I really got to think back on this way. My mind drifts over so many stories. I could say funny in retrospect. There's one time I was about to kill my manager.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean,
Go down
we
that
were
road.
down, we were down in Ecuador, and I have certain dietary things that I adhere to. And we had just done a sound check, and not all the eating establishments were open until a certain time. So I ordered some food to be served, when I got back. Meantime, I was so hungry, I had to get something in my stomach, and I went across the street, had something I generally don't eat. It's just that's kind of a lifestyle choice. It wasn't going to immediately shock my system. I came back to the place where we were going to perform. I stayed upstairs by myself working on tunes, and my manager asked me twice, since I'd eaten, did I still want that dinner that I ordered? That thing. I said, yes, that's twice. Well, I came downstairs. My manager had given my dinner away.
Oh,
I wanted to kill him. I didn't. Okay. But that's just one of them crazy, ugly stories. Here's a better anecdote.
but what you got to pause for the cause, and you got to tell the people how long he's been your manager.
Oh, Tom has been my manager for it's more than 25 years now, and that's like it's too long. I waited too long. I can't kill him now. Because the judge would say, "No, there's something there. You going to jail? There's something there. You got to do some time." And Tom says he knows people who have committed murder and done more time than he and I have been together.
Oh wow!
So,
This is true.
okay, here's a later story.
Must be a cop.
Anyway, one time, me and I had a band over in Belgium, over in Europe. And we were after a show, we were walking across this huge plaza, and we saw a street performer. He had a big crowd gathered around him, and he had this bullwhip, and he's snapping it, pow, pow. And then he says to the crowd, "All right, I want somebody to take this cigarette, hold it in your mouth, and I'm gonna snap it at your mouth." And nobody in the crowd stepped forward, and we still walking in that direction. And then finally he says, "Okay, y'all nervous? All right." So he went to his backpack, and he took this little teddy bear out of his backpack, and he sat it over on the ground, and he put a little cigarette in the teddy bear's mouth, and he went 15, 20 feet away, and he took that bullwhip, and pow, he blew that teddy bear into about 7 pieces. And the crowd roared, but nobody got up there and got that cigarette.
No.
I just thought of another story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, we can swap like this probably until the sun comes up. But this is one I just shared with my son this past weekend. We played, I think it was Alexandria, Louisiana. I don't know. It was a little street festival. Mainly blues people. I remember some guy was so-and-so junior, like he was calling himself Muddy Waters Jr. or B.B. King Jr., something like that. And he would just tell the crowd, "Somebody scream," and everybody would go off, and come back again. "Come on, somebody scream." So anyway, that was the nature of the festival. So after the little performances, they say, "Hey, we're going to take a bus and go out to a little club outside of town. Do y'all want to come?" "Well, sure, that'll be great." So they got all of the participants on this bus. And we ride, and we ride, and we ride, and we get to a club that's back up in the boonies. We go in there, and it's all black folks, and it's a Saturday night, and everybody's dancing like to music like Marvin Gaye or what have you. And it's a good time. It's a throwdown. And all of a sudden, a brass band from New Orleans was on the bus with us, and they decided that they wanted to entertain the people. They were going to give them the gift of entertainment. But these people, all they wanted to hear was Marvin Gaye. They didn't give a hoot about the brass band. But anyway, the brass band, boom, 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 boom. Next thing I knew, it was bam, bam, bam. The lights.
Oh.
Girls are going bam, bam. Tables were being knocked over. Everything was being thrown. And Ann and Andra, we got separated from each other. I don't know where everybody went. All I know is that I went back and got on the bus, you know. So I find Ann and I find Andra. They come a little bit later on. Oh my God, what is going on? I said, listen, ladies, we sing about it every night. You were just in a wang dang doodle.
Oh, you gonna pitch that way, then, dude.
Yeah. We're going to kick down all the windows. We're going to knock down all the doors. We're going to pitch a wang dang doodle. And when the fish scents fill the air, there'll be snuff juice everywhere. Yeah. So Ann goes, whatever you do, don't tell my husband George. I said, I can't wait to tell him. Oh yeah, yep. There's some more of those kind of stories too. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was so classic.
Yeah,
So this has been so much fun. Thank you guys for joining me. Absolutely. And as we wrap this up, I really do want to come back to where we started, because I think a lot of people don't really know how to express their voice. I had a hard time asking the question, but I think that you guys have a plateau for people to listen. And so, you know, as we wrap things up, I'd like for each of you just to make a statement about the current affairs and how someone can make a difference, what they can do to make a difference, and then tell them how they can find you. Guy?
I'll start by saying that the internet was created to serve you, not you serve the internet. I understand I'm a person who has internet phobia, online phobia, and there are merciful people who help me. I find that because of COVID, I'm dependent upon this institution that I formerly had almost contempt for, because now that's how I reach out very largely. I just want to say to folks, make sure you reach out and do not compare yourself to others. You got to be self-validating. You're just because you're breathing, just because you're here, you are worthwhile. And people more than ever right now need to hear the human voice. It helps to be able to see this representation of the human face, but to hear the human voice, that is heaven. Be sure to reach out to people. You are valid. Somewhere in you is some wisdom that somebody needs to hear. And older people like me, that's Gaye Ty's my little baby sister. Older people like me, we have wisdom. We have the validity of saying to young folks, don't go down that road. It's time for you to listen. It's time for you to learn something. So let's use our voice in this new era of electronic communication to reach out, to tell our stories, and know that they are valid and they are needed. And messages of love. I'm going to turn you over to Love Lady.
Yeah. I think that what has happened is that at last we're communicating. I think that George Floyd, what happened to him, now white people understand what we've been dealing with all our lives. I raised a man child, and every time he went out at night, I was afraid. And it's a damn shame that you live with that fear all the time. The people who are supposed to be protecting us are those who are most likely to perpetrate violence against us. So we have to do something about that. You start by listening. You start by listening and you start by understanding. And white folks need to believe what we've been saying about racism being real. And if you really want to do something to help, I know whoever is listening, I know you know some people who are not registered to vote. That would be your starting place. Tina Terry, that would be your starting place to simply go there. And if you need an example, if you need to sell somebody, I'll use this one example to sell people. And that is that on the 1st of September, Trump ruled that payroll taxes would be withheld so that businesses wouldn't have to pay that payroll tax. Well, guess what payroll tax funds? Social Security and Medicare. So if you know anybody over 70 who does vote, there's a valid reason to vote because your Social Security and your Medicare could be eaten up. So that I think all of us initially, we just have to start by protecting those we love and starting with your own star player, who is yourself. According to Cat Williams, when you look in the mirror, you're looking at your star player. And so you need to do what you need to do to protect yourself, to protect your family. And the internet can really blow up against you. A few weeks ago, this was right around, perhaps July 4th, I forget now. But the mayor of our little town apologized to those nonviolent protesters who were tear gassed. That was it. That was a nice thing. Tucker Carlson grabbed a hold of her soundbite, put it on Fox News. So then all of these people come in from out of town with their guns, on their motorcycles, out to get the protesters in Fredericksburg. Well, I happened to be coming up the street when they were protesting. I got out of the car. I had on a shirt I had made. It had 8:46, the number of minutes on George Floyd's neck. And I think when these people saw me, they started revving the motorcycle. And here I'm videotaping now. All right. Run, 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 run. And I'm videotaping. And of course, I had to say, the louder the Harley, the smaller the Johnson. Oh, and I said that a couple of times as they passed by. I said, oh, look, and he's got a gun, and he's on a Harley. He's turning the corner. He fell off his Harley. Oh, the bigger the Harley, the smaller the Johnson. Do you know that within a day, it had like 20,000 hits? I was called a racist. I was called a child of a devil. I was told that I was going to hell. I was told that when I was teaching, I was bringing children to my house and giving them alcohol. I mean, this just went boom. Now, I thought I was just being funny. I thought it was a comical thing to say. And I do comical stuff. I do half lit and talking smack on the front porch. And that's what I do. I talk smack all the time. But I was damned to hell. So, the internet can be twisted and used against you in a heartbeat. And I was really upset at first. And then I decided it was some good trouble, to quote John Lewis, it was some good trouble. And then I decided also it was nothing that they could call me that I hadn't been called before. Yeah, okay, I'm a bitch with a bad attitude. Bring it on. Be glad I'm not young.
Too tired to care, yeah.
Look, he wasn't BITCH with a shotgun.
I know.
It's a regular.
I know. Yeah, and what people have to understand too, one of the things that's happened as a result of the protest is that all these Confederate statues are coming down. Mm-hmm. And for once, this particular parade had no Confederate flags because the state governor has outlawed them.
Yeah.
Goodness from the protest. And what people don't seem to understand is all these statues, these Confederate statues, they were mainly placed outside of courthouses right around the turn of the century when Black people were getting the vote to intimidate Black folks from coming in the courthouse to vote. And then again, they started naming all of these army bases, Fort McClellan and what have you, Fort Meade, after Confederate generals in the 50s and 60s, again, to intimidate those engaged in the civil rights protest. So there's, goodness is happening. Some goodness is happening as a result of the protest. Yeah, right now they're trying to change the name of Jeff Davis Highway, which ran from D.C. all the way through Virginia going south, Route 1. And I think it'll happen. We shouldn't have to live honoring a man who clearly fought to keep slavery.
Yeah.
And I think I agree completely. Please register to vote. If COVID is a reason you don't want to go out, get that absentee ballot. Don't put it in the mail. Take it straight to your.
And here's another thing. As of 45 days before the election date, which means September 18th, you can simply go into the registrar's office and vote.
Oh, really?
You don't need a reason to be there. You don't have to give a reason for an absentee ballot. You can simply go to, that's what I'm going to do, because I don't trust the mail. I don't trust the drop box. I'm going to go in the registrar's office and vote there. I'll probably wait till the Monday after the 18th, or I might go in on the 18th. But
and are we being clear that this is national? Not
I was going to ask that.
Mm. Oh yeah,
just
okay.
Going to be got to be nice and clear.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you mean I know that that's true for Virginia, and I'm fairly certain that that's true for all of the national, the presidential election. But you should check it for yourself.
Yep, our job is to check.
Good.
I am gonna check that.
Uh-huh.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. This was a great interview. We actually got a comment from a lady, Terry Robbins, that said she laughed, she cried, she laughed, she cried, and she really thanked us for this interview.
Oh, great. Okay. She often comes to the front porch. I mean,
does she?
She doesn't. Sometimes people actually come to the front porch, but she watches the show. Yeah, she watches the show. Yeah, thanks, Terry.
Oh, and it's been way too long since I've seen both of you. And yes, you're going to get a triple hug next time I see you, because I am a hugger and I'm dying to hug somebody.
All right.
Hugaholics Anonymous.
Yes.
Hugaholics Anonymous. Oh, you guys have a great day. Take care. Be safe.
Okay.
Thank you. I love you, Gaye Ty.
I love you. I love you, my Kokomo kid.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Paperwork you wanted me to sign.
Oh, yeah. You want me to sign it?
No. That's what I wrote you back. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Well, it just said that I give my rights to them to do anything for free.
See, I did not open it. Shame
I
on
thought
me.
it was just a regular thing, but it wasn't.
Okay.
Okay.
And I should have opened it, because then I wouldn't have.
Yeah, call me.
Okay.
See what happens when COVID's like, we're not really working. I will call you.
Okay. All right, take care.
Bye, guys.
I love you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Gig Sessions Lunchtime Talk. If you liked this video, please click like. If you'd like to know when we go live, please hit subscribe. And for all you Jason Ricci fans out there, the Gig Sessions is launching a new series that we are calling Fanfare Fridays, where you, the fan, get to ask the questions. Please go to my Facebook page for full details. That is the Gig Sessions Facebook page. And that show will air on Friday, September 18th at 3 p.m. Eastern. Again, thank you for joining us. See you next week.